Welcome to Above the Garage. Hi, friends. Welcome to our discussion of Industry, Season 4, Episode 1. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Kate. Well, this is very exciting. One of our favorite actors from the first show we ever covered has joined the industry playground. I'm talking about Max Minghella, of course. We've had the pleasure of meeting him, and he is the loveliest, and it's delightful to follow his career. So let's dive into industry. So it's a whole new world this season. No more Pierpoint, no more Rob, which I'm particularly sad about. We'll miss him, but he's probably the only character on the show that will ever get a happy ending. So yay for that.
Yeah, I love him. I think that, like you said, his ending was perfect, and
Yeah.
it was a very nice, new beginning, fresh start for him
Mm-hmm.
at the end of season 3. So as much as it's sad that he's gone, I'm glad he got out of this toxic situation.
Yes, exactly.
And even though I know that, some of us were rooting for him and Yasmin for the 3 seasons that he was on, that was such a toxic situation that it was a clean break for him, and I think it's for the best.
For sure. Yeah.
Honestly.
This discussion is going to be even more explicit than our typical conversations, so be forewarned, since the episode is very obscenely and hilariously titled PayPal for Bukkake. Dave watched it last night, and he reminded me this morning there's actually a good Bukkake story from our wedding.
Okay, let's dive into that. Unpack that, Kate.
I worded that sentence purposefully. It's just that at one of the tables where we had put random friends from different phases of our life together, there was a lull in conversation, and someone asked what they should talk about. And of course, our friend Larry helpfully supplied, "How about Bukkake?" To which my 25-year-old cousin replied, "What's Bukkake?" And the whole table's laughing uproariously. I don't think they ever told her, but yeah, that's the extent of Bukkake at my wedding, I'm pretty sure.
That is hilarious.
I sincerely hope.
I was about to say, let's hope.
Okay, on to the actual episode. So this is what happened to Jonathan from Stranger Things. It did throw me off for a second to see Jonathan, Charlie Heaton, since my kids have binged Stranger Things over the holidays, and I wasn't aware he was going to be in industry, but I like his new accent. Anyway, he's pretty creepily stalking Kiernan Shipka's new character, Haley. Creepily, but ultimately successfully. Haley goes home with him, and it's not until the next morning she finds out he's a journalist named Jim Diker from Fin Digest, at which point she explosively kicks him out, as she should. What a dick.
Yeah, we get some early info about Whitney in this scene because he's Haley's boss, and this is apparently the primary reason Jim was stalking Haley, because he's been in communication with his old assistant and he's digging into Tender. So that was just interesting little nuggets to sprinkle in early on.
Right. He's introduced as a villain,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know why yet. It's fun.
Yeah.
It was strange that nobody wants to talk about Tender or Whitney.
Yeah.
It was disturbing.
Right. I like how it's unveiled in that way too, because even later when he's talking to his assistant, I don't know, you just get more and more intrigued. What is this actually? I like it.
Jim, the whole introduction, watching and stalking Haley, the assistant, was so creepily shot, and
Yeah.
the music and editing of it was just very horror movie-ish, opening to a horror movie.
Nightmarish almost.
I swear to
Yeah.
God, I double checked that I was watching the correct show.
Yeah. Because you don't get any of the familiar characters in the
Right.
opening either, so you're kind of like, wait, what's happening? Where are we?
Yeah.
Which is great. I kind of love that.
Yeah, I did too.
I also find extremely weird that a girl will end up with this creepy guy
Yeah.
in your house.
Right.
I know.
Alcohol. Must have been a lot of alcohol and other drugs,
whatever
perhaps.
pills they were taking. Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing I picked up on was this was the first mention of the fact that Whitney flies to Africa basically on a weekly basis, which is a lot of flying to Africa, which is
Right.
that's no quick there and back again.
Yeah, why Africa?
Later in the episode, he says he has to go to Accra for a few hours.
Yes, that threw me off so much. I was like,
Right.
wait, are we miscalculating how long it would take to get there? I would think that would take a while, but I didn't check.
Yeah, so intriguing.
Private jets and all that.
Yeah, but still, what do you do there for a few hours? If you have offshore accounts in, island countries, people do that. But
And dude, why does it require him to physically fly there when we've got so much technology that he could communicate
right,
from
that's what I mean.
far away?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff going on there for sure, whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're looking for investment, you will go probably to Asia, not Africa. I don't know
It's an interesting
why.
market. Yeah.
It's something shady. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Harper's walking into the fancy mansion office like it's a runway on her 30th birthday, shreds her mom's birthday card as her coworker breaks the news that one of their biggest clients wants to withdraw capital from her short fund. The two specific stocks we learned she's shorting are OnlyFans and Siren, both porn, because she thinks an online safety bill is going to hurt the industry. She's feeling frustrated at all levels, obviously with her clients wanting to leave and also with her superiors not letting her do the trades she wants to do. They've even created a whole new position with a fancy title that is essentially just a babysitter for Harper.
She was really serving in that suit when she walked in.
Yeah, she was.
The shoulder pads, like, and then later Yaz has shoulder pads in her like leather jacket. And I'm thinking, is shoulder pads a fashion thing that's coming back? Or
Everything comes back someday.
I love it though. They're not wrong. They look good on them.
And she's so confident. I mean, if you just think back to her in season 1 and jump forward to where she is now, it's this incredible growth arc that she's already had. Not fans of her mom, though, apparently, like shredding her mom's birthday cards.
Yeah. That relationship hasn't getting better.
No, I don't picture getting better. I wonder what happened with her brother. I mean, I don't wonder. They're obviously not speaking, but if we'll see him again ever, probably not.
Guys, do we know how much time passes between season 3 or season 4? At least 1 year?
Yeah. She said it's been about a year since she's been doing what she's
The
doing
fun,
with
yeah.
Otto, I think. Yeah.
Because she looks like very settled in that office and with coworkers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now we meet Whitney, played by Max Minghella, along with his CEO, Jonah Atterbury, played by Kal Penn. I love this cast. It's so good. Anyway, they're discussing skincare routines. Semen retention's a fave. Whitney is hating on Siren right off the bat. The episode name references the company they run, which is essentially a PayPal for porn sites. Whitney wants to expand, and like Harper, he's expecting this bill to hurt the porn industry. Jonah just seems kind of lazy and doesn't want to change anything, but they agree to talk about it soon.
When Jonah goes into his office and sits down at his desk and they give him coffee, he says, "Do we have any boba? Is that a thing we do?"
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you going to put that in? Your hot coffee?
Right?
I know. And I was surprised the guy was like, I don't know what that is. Like, boba's pretty trendy.
I've known for a long time, and I don't know things.
I don't know what boba is.
Oh, you don't? It's like these little...
They have little
Gummies that
bottles
go in
of
a drink.
tapioca in a drink. And I'm not a fan of them, but it's apparently a hot thing.
I get that vibe that it was something to put in a drink, but I
Yeah.
didn't.
Usually in tea. I didn't know you put it in coffee.
I don't think normal people do.
Or just like not a hot drink is,
Yeah,
is
exactly.
more what I'm thinking. Like it would just
Yeah,
melt.
it's
but,
usually a cold drink.
Right.
But I like the what is the word for that? It's not eccentricity, but just like
Yeah, a little.
how far down the list of amenities is boba in your office?
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
I love the little digs that are peppered into the show that culminate in the ending, what happens with Jonah's character at the end. Just that little comment about, will you light the candle I gave you? It was such a strange approach to rectify the situation with whatever odor or smell that he's combating. And I loved their banter. I love the fact that there's clearly this long history of a relationship between them, that they have a shorthand with each other, just that familiarity of having like a long friendship. I love the energy of both characters. It's just,
Right.
It was really great right off the bat.
They're both really comfortable with each other. And, up until the very end, I was like, they're still like managing to be really good friends despite this massive underlying conflict. And it did not turn out that way in the end. But up until then, I liked them together a lot.
there's so many relationships, duos, or friendships in quotes on this show
Right.
where it's like they're kind of assholes to each other,
Mhm.
but they're still friends and you can still feel that they like kind of love each other, and it's very
Yes.
layered, and you kind of never know how serious the insults are between
Right.
them, because it's like, wow, I wouldn't say that to somebody. That's like so rude.
Right.
And then they just move right on.
Yeah. They've all fucked each other over so badly. Like,
Yeah.
it seems
Yes.
like something I would never forgive or speak to this person for again. But that's what's so interesting about the show. Like,
Right.
they have all done this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I forget things like, didn't Harper and Rishi have sex the night before his wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she like was going to get him fired the day of his wedding. It's all like so bad, and yet now
And she
they're
screwed
meeting
him
up.
over in the finale in season 3
Yes.
with the
It's like how much a person is useful to them, whether or not they come back around to even speaking to them again or working with them again, whether or not they actually like each other is like second or third. I mean, they don't even really
Right.
have to like each other. But the one that's most fascinating to me is Harper and Yaz, because they've had so many blow-ups with each other that in real life, I think most of those would be just endgame to a friendship.
Right.
And especially, I think it was end of season 3 when they have that great fight and they slap each other and it's just explosive. And then if it was either a few scenes later or the next episode that they're on the phone with each other and like, hey, are you coming to my wedding? It's like, wow.
But entertaining.
It's very interesting, the relationships on the show.
and they started out the journey into this world together, so they're like bonded by some shared
Trauma.
Yeah, because they went through
Yeah.
a lot at Pierpoint.
Yeah. Shared experience that nobody else
Exactly.
would understand.
It makes me curious, as bad as this episode ended for Jonah and Whitney, if they'll also have a cyclical relationship like that because they have all this history.
I think if there are future seasons, then they will, because that's how characters go in this show.
Even
But
in this season,
right.
though, I'm kind of curious.
But that's kind of what, like in their entire conversation where they're having that tension of like, we're friends and we love each other, but also we're saying really hateful, horrible things to each other. It's like, it's not even just in this scene, it's like throughout the whole episode, obviously, but we're so used to that being the way that characters act on this show that it's not as jarring
right.
as
it
it
would
really
be.
would be.
Yeah.
Because I had to think about that later. I was like, actually, they're kind of like dicks to each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. On the topic of Rishi, he's crashing a wake where they're also talking about the online porn bill. It's talk of the town. When asked where he works, Rishi evades the question, and then we see what he's actually up to. This guy has the inside story on what they're going to announce about the bill tomorrow, and somehow Rishi manages to both steal and break into his phone to read it without him noticing. And he then feeds that information to Harper. They're even going to name Siren in the statement in Parliament tomorrow, which will help her short position. We learn Rishi's life is pretty fucked. He can't get past background checks to get a new job. Harper's been bailing him out of money he owes. And so his previous enemy, Harper, is now who he lists as his closest family. He's in a sad state. Do you think he's parenting his kid? I hope Rishi's kid has at least one stable grandparent that can step in, because
I had that question here. I want to know where his baby is and
Yeah.
hopefully with family.
there's no way he would take that on, I think, sadly, but also happily.
Yeah.
That was such a shocking when his wife was shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I
Last
know.
season.
My God.
Just seeing it again in the recap, I was like, God, I remember how shocked I was. I did not see
Yeah.
that coming.
Because that's not been really part of the show, murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Like normally it gets dark on the show, but it's usually like cutthroat business stuff. We don't normally see just straight up execution murder happening
Mhm.
like that. His episode last season was just so chaotic and so stress inducing. This guy is just digging himself into the worst hole,
Right.
and he'll like almost fill it and then he'll dig it again, and he just
Yeah.
keeps going through that same cycle.
Right. I remember he won all the money back that he owed, and then he just kept going. And it's something that Harper does too that just drives me insane.
Yes,
You just got out of a near-death situation, and you're
exactly.
It's the adrenaline addiction, I guess, that they all
yeah, and it's
have.
obviously a very real thing. This happens in reality. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, but
Right.
what I really wanted to, on this scene, what I really wanted to bring up was how there seemed to be some indication when she mentioned how she covered his bill at the Priory. The way he talks, his dialogue, it just seemed a little dark. He said, I was pretty zonked on meds. I wasn't actually trying to do anything. It just sounded to me like, I mean, where he left off in season 3 was in a really low, horrible place. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking maybe he was suicidal,
Right. Maybe he OD'd or something.
hitting that rock bottom and just going to that really dark, dark place, which I guess he's pulled himself out of, but he still seemed extremely heavy and low and just didn't have the Rishi energy that he's had in previous seasons, which is understandable given what he went through.
Agreed.
One thing, I imagine if this kind of spying on other people's phones for information is punishable by law. Yeah.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure.
It's insider trading because she
Yeah.
trades.
So it's very dark.
It's very dark. There's no way this guy would not have noticed during all of that time. He even notices his phone's missing and doesn't freak out about it. He's like,
Yeah.
I think there's some comments in the dialogue about how drunk he is.
Mhm.
And it was pretty clever, I thought, the way Rishi was showing interest in the porn that Jamie flashed at him so that he could watch him put his code in again, but apparently did not get it memorized exactly because it took him like 3 tries to get into his phone, which is, I think he would have been locked out if he'd missed a third time. But
It said that, yeah, on the screen, yeah. It was like one more attempt or something.
Well, he got lucky.
But I do think this is like, unfortunately, something that he would be good at, and he's
Yeah.
obviously
That's
doing well with it.
yeah,
good. I'm glad he has a talent. Now Whitney's presenting his vision for Tinder 2.0. Jonah only noticed the Asians. No, he also noticed that Whitney is trying to completely change their business, not a little expansion, a full 180. And Whitney's already canvassed their investors. It's a direction people are into. Jonah points out that delicately named alternative merchants make up much of their revenue because Google and PayPal won't touch those businesses, porn and gambling. Whitney's vision is bigger, though. He wants to be a bank. Short-term loss is worth a long-term gain. And they end the meeting in continued complete disagreement. And I get mad at Whitney when he knocks a chair over and calls his assistant, who is Kiernan Shipka's Haley, in to pick it up.
Just a perfectly executed asshole moment, though.
Yeah.
It's so casual, too, the way he just walks to his desk and is like, chair. It's like, seriously? Ridiculous.
There was so much in this scene. This is another one of those like densely dialogue scenes going back and forth, which both Max and Kal Penn are just nailing. I don't know that I've ever seen either one of them in roles like this. They're both absolutely nailing it.
Mm-hmm.
When Whitney interjects, we can't expect people to want to deposit their savings or take mortgage with us if we're associated with squirting videos and I loved how he pulled his glasses down to read on his phone. Ebony Gilf gets force bred by black. And that execution of that, like layered with the sexual innuendo, like all of that was just so funny to me.
One thing I was wondering if Whitney wants to do this diversifying their business because the incomes right now is not enough, or he wanted to do that because, for fame, glory,
Yeah, that's what I think. I think he's power seeking suddenly.
power.
Yeah. He was probably content with a good business for a while and suddenly he's like, no, I want to take over the world,
Yeah, I think maybe Jonah makes a comment about that, about just like, why don't you just sit in the success of what we've already accomplished instead of like chasing the next new thing?
Right.
Which leads to the other part of this dialogue that I loved was when Whitney does his impression of Jonah, when he says, in a few years, you're going to come to me and be like, hey, why have our profits eroded so much? His execution of all of that dialogue was so perfect.
Yeah, they're both great. And I like, even though like he's a dick and you can tell that already, but not fully, but we're going to obviously be finding out more bad stuff about him. I still find him very compelling.
Yeah. I think that's the case with almost every character in the industry.
Yeah.
It's like, they're all shady in some way. They're all backstabby and all out for themselves. All of those things are true, but I don't even know if you like them or root for them, but they're interesting, they're compelling, and they keep you engaged and watching. Yeah.
Well, and I think the contrast too, when they do have moments of humanity peeking through and you can see it on their face, like obviously Max is really good at that. Everybody on the show is really good at that. Like if you're watching them just like expressing about something, it's like you can kind of see into their soul for a second and you think, hey, maybe there's a real person in there.
Yeah.
They're not just horrible.
And then they do something absolutely horrible again the next moment.
Yeah.
Well, and I also, at least where it's starting now, what Whitney is trying to do, I think is understandable, trying to expand and think about long-term growth rather than just stay in the course the way Jonah wants to do. So it doesn't necessarily sound that crazy to me yet, but it's just the beginning. We're just at that beginning point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can sense that there's something else going on under the surface with all the little aside comments.
Yeah, and then you add on the Africa stuff, which is like, what's that all about?
Yeah.
And what did happen with his previous assistant? Like, there's just so many like
NDAs
little darker layers that it's like we have the full onion right now, and we're going to be peeling back the layers of that onion as we go along in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney's idea is really great. I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
If you want your company to make something more honorable,
right,
I think it's more laudable to be a bank, a digital
for
bank.
sure.
It's a good idea for business. And later we will find out that actually there's a whole politic situation
Right.
behind
Mhm.
that business that's
Yeah.
about Siren and OnlyFans and all of
Right.
that.
Right.
So
Right.
I think at this point you kind of understand what Whitney's mind
Yeah. You're aligned
is
with Whitney.
heading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, it sounds like they do what PayPal and Google Pay do. It's just that what's setting them apart, the only thing that really sets them apart is their willingness to work with the porn sites,
Right.
Siren and OnlyFans. The other point was made, I think his name Ferdinand,
Yeah.
by him, that it's also keeping other clientele away
Right.
because they accept that
It's
the
a
clientele of
reputation.
the porn sites. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it makes business sense what Whitney wants to do, which is legitimize his current goal. And
It's not his real rationale, but it sounds good for now, for
exactly,
good reason.
exactly.
All the political stuff that gets mixed in later, though, it reminds me a lot of like Veep or The Thick of It
Mhm.
shows where you're seeing political players that you don't have any idea what they really believe in because they're only going with what is going to be the most popular.
Right.
And that's, this show has been doing that this whole time too.
Hmm. Reality more and more.
Yeah.
Anyway, and now it's time for the minister's statement, which of course Harper's already read. Although the minister does also get a Tinder jab in, the companies that process their payments. Anyway, Harper's short trade on Siren is crushing it, but in Harper's style, she never learns. It drives me crazy. She does not take her win and close out the trade. And now Whitney's on the phone with Yasmin. She's working on seating assignments, and Whitney has some thoughts on who he'd like to sit with. When he's off the phone, Ferdinand drops a succession line, tells Whitney that Jonah's not a serious person, and it works. The next scene, Whitney fires Siren without Jonah's sign-off. And they only give him 24 hours until they cut off payments. That seems harsh. But it's so fun watching Max get some actual content. I said before the recording, I feel like he had more lines in this single episode than he did in all of Handmaids.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he got some great dialogue and delivering it in a way that was like kind of new and different, and he's really crushing this part.
Yeah. So I noticed too when he's on the phone with Yasmin, first of all, this establishes they already know each other. And he's telling her what he wants. He wants to sit next to Jennifer Bevan. I guess I was thinking it was at the wedding, but this was at that. What was it? I couldn't tell what the event was. It was for Yasmin, but was it in relation to the wedding, leading up to the wedding?
I have no idea what the event was intended for, but the
Okay.
wedding already happened, right? Since they're called the lady at this point.
So that must have been then the seating chart she was planning was for whatever this thing was.
This event, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so the wedding has already happened. Oh, and then she brings up the discussion about Henry's future, wants to keep the discussion about Henry's future still alive. And when she says sounds fair and he says sounds fabulous, just my impression here was that this favor he's doing for Yaz, it sounds equally attractive for Whitney. Like this isn't really something that he's doing for her. That's just another layer that I think is definitely going to be a major thing this season with Whitney and Henry.
Yeah, I'm interested in what she's wanting for Henry.
Yeah.
I had initially assumed that he probably knew Henry and that's how but that's not the case. He is friends with Yaz and hasn't met Henry yet even.
I was sort of vaguely assuming that part of Yaz's inspiration for all of this was that Henry is reclusive at this point and just snorting stuff off of a museum piano.
He's not doing well.
Yeah.
No, he's not doing well.
So I feel like she just wants him ambitious and doing something with his life.
Back in the game somehow. Between this phone call, I thought that Whitney already knew Henry, but then at the event that he meets up with Yaz at, he says, I'm looking forward to meeting him.
Yeah, I think Henry's just been not really seeing anybody or going out to events or doing anything.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's a birthday party coming that maybe they'll meet at that or something.
I got the sense too when Ferdinand's talking to Whitney about the Jonah problem and Whitney's pushing back. When he says there is no Jonah problem, our friendship has lasted longer than this noise. And this is sort of maybe what Aubrey was just talking about, where this is a scene where I got the sense that he was being sincere about his friendship with Jonah, that there isn't a problem, but it was maybe the kernel that got him thinking that maybe it is a bigger problem than he's realizing, because Ferdinand leaves and then he becomes more thoughtful about it. And then the next step is seeing him, I guess, I don't know what you call it when you cut off a tie with a client, but essentially getting rid of Siren.
Yeah, I just feel like bringing the board together to get rid of Jonah would take more than the day that it looks like it takes, or however.
That's true.
I don't know, but I feel like it's already in the works Probably.
Because they have to have been gathering that information
Oh,
and
yeah.
building a case.
Right.
Well, and it's like the little comments that he makes about the candle. He also says it's probably not good for you to say black on black action in this office. Like all of those things come up
Right.
in the final meeting when they kick Jonah out.
But I feel like you can read that as him providing the support for what happens. Like, so
Right.
that when Jonah's like, this came out of nowhere, he's like, no, I've said this, and this in the office. Like,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't know. It's a bummer, though. I do think that he actually really cares about Jonah, but
Yeah.
although, if he cared about Jonah, he probably would not have informed him in the most infuriating way he could, screaming at him across the office that he fired Siren and things are happening at your business or something to that effect. Sucks for Jonah he did that in that public way.
Yeah.
Harper's fucking her coworker Quabina, but they're distracted. Very distracted sex. He's feeling bad about the sweet pea dig from yesterday and clearly lying about having not seen her video. Harper gets a text, another client requesting a withdrawal, and reacts explosively. She makes Quabina send an email at that very moment, gating the fund, which means not allowing any withdrawals from investors. It's insanely extreme and just such a stupidly typical Harper in the moment overreaction. But if she doesn't do that, she won't be able to maintain her shorts in Siren. So, but nobody, like, doesn't everyone know at this point in their lives not to send an email the moment you get infuriated about something
Right.
to all your clients?
Yeah. And it looks so bad.
Yeah.
But it is a very Harper thing to do.
Yeah.
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 Like send these kind of emails.
Yes.
Yes.
1000%.
Impulsive in the moment. Yeah. What I loved about this was the role reversal. Like she's the superior. He's her subordinate. But as soon as this happens, she puts him to work as she's firing off this email she wants to send. And I'm like, more traditionally, you would have seen the male-female role reversed. And I like the fact that industry is always playing up things like that. Like she's the one with the power. She's the one who's his superior. She's his boss. And like, take this email from me right now.
Yeah.
It was just something new you don't typically see.
Yeah, and I liked his reaction too. Like he's not unwilling to tell her this is the worst idea ever, but he does. He's like, "Well,
Right.
you're the boss," and he hits send. Like it's he shouldn't have hit send, but
No.
he let her lead.
Yeah. And I was thinking about how sex scenes in the industry are never tender and hot and sexy in any way.
Yeah, that's true.
Never.
Because this maybe was a little bit hot, but no.
No, nothing like heated rivalry. No.
No, of course
Not
it's
at
not.
all.
But I mean, the show has a lot of sex scene,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? But they're never intended to be sexy,
yeah,
but
you're
more
right.
like transactional power moves.
Mhm. Never emotional.
Yeah.
Never emotional, especially with Harper. I think the only scene that I found emotional was Rob and Jazz sex.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the only sex scene in the show that's ever made me feel any feelings whatsoever, honestly.
Same.
The
Yeah.
rest
Yeah.
is just watching another business transaction, like you said.
Well, and it's interesting how they move between a sex scene or some kind of intimacy with someone and then immediately into like, let me send this email
Yeah.
while you're still naked in my bed.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just all
Yes.
twisted together.
Yeah.
I learned early on in the show, don't get invested in any of these relationships. They're just
No.
too superficial.
Yeah.
Like really, like not even Yaz and Robert. They're the only ones that had the kind of chemistry, I think, that kind of propelled them along. But at the same time, I was like, this is just never going to be
No.
anything that I can really connect with. So I just early on I was like, just don't even try. These are just it's
Yeah.
just part of the story, part of the plot. You can enjoy them for what they are, but just don't get invested in any of these relationships.
Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking that Harper has a lot of casual sex during the 4 seasons of the show. But remember in season 1 when the female client
Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah.
Remember when Harper said like, no, that was
Mhm.
not professional. She made a move to me and no, it's not okay. And now she's fucking a colleague,
Right.
a
Yeah.
co-worker.
There you go.
Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
How is happened this?
Exactly.
I think she literally gave up on all morals whatsoever the moment her brother turned
Yeah.
her away. Like that was just,
Yeah,
that's it. I'm gonna embrace this horrible person you think I am. That's who I'm gonna be from now on.
that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing in this scene, though, is the foreshadowing to what happens later with Whitney, because they're talking about,
penetration.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
I thought it was a strange conversation anyway, because like he's gonna accidentally find himself in the anal area. But yes, it did. It was a good precursor to later.
Mm-hmm.
Next morning, James Ashford storms in, furious about the gatekeeping email. Kwabena and Sweet Pea, I found it very funny that they were like struggling and ultimately failing to shut the giant mansion doors. As he reveals to Harper why she's had such a hard time getting what she wants done in this fund, he strongly implies Lord Mostyn realized his political ambitions were being harmed by this short-only fund. Shorting is not looked upon kindly in the industry, though it's often done. Anyway, she looks stunned to realize that's why she's been hamstrung all this time. And then Ashford starts repeating a very long word that actually means long words before she makes a joke about him having a stroke. Somewhere else, please. And then he crashes through the glass table face first. This was shocking to me too. This was like when the woman got shot. I wasn't expecting him to actually collapse.
Right.
very jarring, and the sound and everything. It was just like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harper takes a stroke pretty well, though.
But surprised more people haven't had strokes on this show, honestly.
Honestly, that's
Right.
true.
And that's what Kwabena is like. Should we like consider the fact that we are stressing our clients out enough that they're
Yeah.
Brain bleeds, I think he says.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to, like, everybody else is freaking out while Harper's trying to pretend this isn't a big deal. But I do like when she's accused of lacking impulse control, which is just sums her up perfectly.
Yep, definitely.
James is the same James that wanted.
Right. In this scene, he wants to pull his money.
Yeah, he did the same thing with Henry's company too, remember?
Oh, yeah,
In
yeah,
season
yeah.
3. Yeah, it's the same guy.
It is him, yeah.
I think it's in the season 3 pilot too.
Oh, is it?
It's like
Yeah.
he's making a call. He's on the phone with, I guess it's with Yaz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, good note. Good observation.
So that word that he was saying while he was stroking was an actual word? Because I kept thinking he was saying something that was gibberish.
I don't know why he was using that word, because it's not like her email was dense with long words, but it is an actual word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just generally she speaks in overly complex
Yes.
long
Yeah.
words and
Right. Which is true. Everyone does in this show.
yeah.
So Harper goes to meet Otto. He's been distracted all morning by calls about her gating email, distracting him from his political ambitions, as Ashford implied. He doesn't care about her shorting Siren, but he's no longer on board with her shorting all the other companies she wants to short, many of them run by his family and friends. So she accuses him of hiring her as a puppet in blackface, and he doesn't care. Woke is on its way out, and he's happy about it. Ugh, too accurate to reality.
I know.
Yep.
Now we get to check in with Eric, finally. I love him. I mean, I hate him and love him, just the same as we're talking about every other character. He seems very out of place in his retirement, but he's trying. They're watching Trump golf and making reservations at the Palm, which is kind of funny because before Dave and I started our own wealth management business, we worked at a real estate firm in DC where we met, and the partners were always eating at the Palm. I mean, always, like multiple times a week. So it's accurate to my experience in that world. I am happy to see that Harper and Eric are still speaking to each other, and he's giving her advice. Literally unanimously, the entire world is telling her gating email was absolutely a terrible decision, but she refuses to take accountability, telling herself it's just racist. I think Eric gets through to her a little, even though she still doesn't take accountability, and he points out that this is what she does. She finds someone to blame before she even needs to blame someone, and then she suggests going into business together while Eric's being served beers by his younger girlfriend. He's clearly tempted by the offer to work with Harper, and I hope it happens. I like them together. I mean, it does happen later, but when I wrote that note, I was hopeful.
Yeah. No, he seemed bored with his country club life or whatever it was that they were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think Eric is probably one of, if not the only person that Harper still very marginally sees as a mentor, because they were originally in that relationship at work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She learned a lot of the way that she is from him. I mean, obviously she took it to an extreme, but
Right.
I think that she still probably has a bit of a connection to him in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he fucked her so much that he like called every single business that she might apply to
Yeah.
tell them not to. I called somebody 9 times, if I recall.
Exactly.
Everyone in the show has really fucked the others over.
The roller coaster of their relationship. Because right before he does that, they had already tried to partner up.
Right.
When they were trying to, jump from Pure Point and start their own thing. And then he blindsides her, fires her, and then blackballs her, like you just said. And then it's like time heals all wounds with these people, and here they are. And it's kind of like what I said earlier, is like if they can see value in the other person that could help them in some way, that makes them relevant again, and that makes them somebody that they can, maybe mend those harsh feelings with.
I feel like they just all fucked each other over so many times in every direction that it's kind of like,
Yeah.
We're even now.
who's holding a grudge at this point? We could all hold a grudge against every single person on the
Yes.
show. Like, it's just,
Right.
Can they even remember what they were initially mad about before?
yeah. Or who was the last one to ruin the other person's life? Like, it's,
Yeah, right.
I know.
What is the tally on each side? Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's certainly not that Harper is the only one who's done any backstabbing. Everybody has.
Mhm.
This just seems to be sort of the default, or the nature of this business. But did I read this right, that when she got that notice, when she's back in the sex scene with her employee and she gets that notice on her phone, Lily Laura is what set her off, that they were pulling out their capital, or they were pulling out their
Yeah.
Mhm.
their funds. So that was the catalyst that set off the gay email initially.
Right.
She's seeing the dominoes falling of like,
Yeah.
people are going to start withdrawing their funds. And so I have to
Right.
close this down.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And then this comes back to her phone call with Eric, because that was Lily Laura's, was his, she called it his family office.
Mhm.
Whitney's trying to manage Jonah. We find out they met at Stanford, and Whitney uses the exact sentence Jonah said to him back then. In America, your story begins when you start telling it, to try to convince him to get on board. I feel like Jonah sees he's not going to have a chance to stop this when he's trying to make some demands. He wants Ferdinand out, which Whitney refuses. But anyway, to me in this scene, it seemed like they weren't doing so bad considering everything that was going on. In fact, they part with I love yous, but there's still obviously trouble there.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
at this point there was any chance of, like, if Whitney knew what he was going to do, which he did because he's
Yeah.
warning him, don't come to work hungover, like he knows what's happening.
Right.
I wonder if there was any chance of that conversation changing his decision, or if it was
Right.
already just like 100% no, it's happening no matter what you say to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because that's what it seemed without knowing what's going to happen later. It seemed like this was very much still a negotiation, and if he just said he was on board, everything would be better. But yeah, like I don't think they could stop the ball rolling. I don't think he would stop the ball rolling at that point. So I don't know. It's confusing.
No, I
Mhm.
think I agree that this was a make or break moment between Whitney and Jonah, and it was all reliant on Jonah's, whether or not he was willing to go along with Whitney and what Whitney wants to do. If Jonah was not, then he was going to be forced, quote unquote, to do what ends up happening, because I thought there was that subtext when he tells him he loves him and kind of squeezes his shoulder, like this is sort of moving towards the end here. And then you see him pause, like as he's walking away, and he kind of looks back, and he just has one of those contemplative moments, which you could see a lot going on in the nonverbal that he was expressing there.
Yeah, it confused me a little because I feel like Jonah was kind of on board at this point, like more so than before, like accepting that it was happening.
Mhm.
So if this was a make or break conversation, I would think that might have changed his future of, firing him tomorrow. But
I thought he still said the thing about we're not a bank. That's not their story.
yeah, he did still say that. Yeah.
And maybe there's also something about, I mean, I can't really imagine why Whitney gives a shit, but like he's watching him order more drinks and telling him not to be
Yeah.
hungover tomorrow. And then he's like calling a girl to come meet him and stuff. So it's just like he's seeing that he's still doing all this destructive stuff.
Right. And he's just out of control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. That's probably a big part of it too.
Can we take a superficial moment to talk about how great that brown jacket looked on him, on Max? The wardrobe this season is like popping off extra to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is. Oh, the way Yaz looked when she arrived at her event, she looked
Yeah.
amazing.
She does.
She always does. She always does. But she'd straightened her hair, and it just was all so perfect and polished.
Yeah. The one costume I did not like was when Whitney's wearing the orange sweater with the button down underneath it, and then he puts a jacket on, and it's like so wrinkly. There's just too much happening. It was very distracting to me.
Oh,
He needed some extra layers. Just chilly.
Apparently, yes, he's very cold. Whitney eyes Harper at Yasmin's event and beelines it over to her. They both know who each other are. He jokes about his face being pinned to her corkboard like a common criminal, which made me laugh. And they flirt. Yasmin's excited to see the two of them talking, and she does indeed introduce him to Jennifer Bevan. Yasmin unconvincingly explains her husband Henry's absence at this event because he has a cold. Poor guy. Whitney's excited to tell Bevan because of her speech that they're no longer affiliated with Siren or any porn company. So he's got her on his side right off the bat. And Harper's watching this whole exchange like a stalker. When Whitney leaves, Harper's right on his heels and says they're obviously going home together. And while she's in the car, we learn a little more about the shadiness of Whitney. The journalist accusations did get to Haley, and she brings up his former assistant, asks what happened. He makes up a seemingly obvious lie about her leaving because she had Crohn's and he paid for her private treatment. And then he heads home to fuck Harper and to be fucked by Harper. Did you guys guess that was what was going to be in the box? I was very proud to have guessed that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the way he phrased, like, did you appreciate being fucked by me or something? What did he say? Something ridiculous.
Did you enjoy how I fucked you?
Yeah. And I was like, that's a weird way to phrase it, but it makes more sense.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I have a question here.
I
Is he bi?
think you can be straight and like to be pegged.
I think the word fluid kind of works here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that he's defined by a particular sexuality.
Yeah, it's unclear, but
Yeah.
it also reminded me now of that scene with Jonah when they parted. I actually had like a very fleeting moment of like, does Jonah like love him or something? I don't know. There was a moment.
Jonah said something in that. He says, "Do you still find me attractive?"
Yeah, that wasn't even when I noticed it. It was something else. But yeah, maybe there is something there.
That was just
Yeah.
an interesting thing to ask your friend. I
Yeah.
mean, how do I
Yeah.
look good or something like that? But do you still find me attractive was interesting.
Yeah, I read that as more of like a struggling with aging kind of thing, because that's how the initial conversation went.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it's still an interesting way to phrase that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he could very well be bi or straight up gay or anything. I assume we'll find out more about his sexuality, but that was a new and interesting surprise in industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely
Yeah.
don't seem to categorize sexuality really in the show.
Strictly,
Like there's
yeah.
a lot
No.
of kind of, which makes sense.
Fluid. I like it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing that it says about him is he's very secure in whatever he's into. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no, he's figured himself out and
Right.
he knows who he is when it comes to things like that.
And he doesn't know her that well, so she could easily just tell the world about this. He doesn't have her sign an NDA. You're right. Like he's very secure in that, and that's great.
And I think he kind of gets from her vibe that she would not be fazed by, that kind of kink in the bedroom, even if she's never done it before. Because when she's saying I'm scared, he's like, don't be scared. He's like, don't be like, and honestly, that might scare some people.
Right.
But I think he kind of got that she would probably be a go with the flow kind of person.
Yeah, his deliveries during that little section of the scene were interesting. He was very not, I would think most people would be anxious about asking anyone new for that, right?
Yes.
But he was just like, this is nothing, no big deal,
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Going back to the scene outside the car, I thought it was very clever of Haley, the way that she asks
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
about the former assistant, because she says she's looking for a recommendation, which is obviously a lie.
Right.
And he immediately knows it's a lie because he knows really what happened. So he knows that she would never ask for a recommendation, probably.
Well, I started wondering, like, is she dead or something? And
Right.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That could be it too.
or completely blacklisted or just like something
Yeah.
like, totally off the grid.
Yeah.
Didn't Jim say in the early scene with Haley, he's been in communication with her?
That's
He did, but then he
true.
also made it sound like she was missing. Like, I forget the next phrase. He said something like,
He did say something about where is she?
yeah,
And then he said something about being buried behind NDAs or something like that.
right.
Mhm.
So it's we don't know. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
But definitely whatever did happen to her cued Whitney into knowing that Haley was prodding and it was a lie, whatever she said. And then he clearly was like, in return, it's like, okay, so he's making up this story to cover her, where she went or what happened to her. Because he's like, glad to know that she's back on her feet, or glad to know that she's, I don't know, I forget how he said it.
Right. Which she is obviously not, if she even is.
In this moment, in that scene, I noticed that Whitney's way more sinister than I thought it would be.
Yeah, same.
Mhm.
Even though I knew like there's bad shit going on, it's worse, I think, than I had.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is peeking behind the darker curtain.
Yeah.
Like there's something else going on there. And this is also layered with his reference to going to Africa
For a few
for a
hours.
few hours. And the other thing he said was no need to diarize. So he doesn't even want a record of this
Right.
having happened.
Right. That seems extra shady, yeah.
Extra shady.
But as shady as this whole conversation was, I did think there was a kind of comedic timing moment when he's like, I probably shouldn't say, and then immediately says.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's thinking of it like he's coming up with his story.
I can't believe he went with Crohn's.
He's like, I probably shouldn't say, oh, she's got Crohn's.
He needed the time that it took to say, I probably shouldn't say, to figure out what he was going to say. Yeah.
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 But it was almost like stacked on top of each other, the dialogues.
Right.
I shouldn't say, here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes sense that he would hesitate. If that were a true story, it would make sense that he would be hesitant to reveal that someone had Crohn's, because it's a sort of an intimate detail of someone.
For sure. But you wouldn't then immediately reveal it.
Yeah. Right.
Like I just thought of a story.
Yeah. It was good.
It was funny.
Good delivery.
The next morning, Harper and Whitney are getting dressed when she gets a call from Jim Diker. He knows that she's short siren, but he's telling her it's tender she should be looking into. She tells him she's going to have to call him back since she's literally watching Whitney get dressed at this time. And Whitney picks up that there's something wrong. She convincingly lies, I think, and heads home to find Eric on the steps. Yay! They have a real conversation. They both reveal some vulnerabilities, and they agree to start a new partnership. Both of them are so fucking good in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
It's crazy for them to partner up again.
Yes, of course.
Like on both sides. Totally insane. Like it's going to completely fall apart.
I know.
And it'll be exciting to watch how it's going to fall apart this time.
I think it makes sense though too, because she's just like a chaos. Like she lives for chaos.
Maybe there's a sense of devil, like they both know each other's moves. So they also know that they're both talented and capable, and maybe together they can actually do something great and that benefits both of them. But at the same time, it's like, but I got my eye on you because I know what your history is, and I know what you typically do.
Right.
I think Eric is also just bored enough not to really care.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anything.
That's true. He is so bored.
Yeah.
Like getting fucked over would honestly bring some excitement to his life at this point.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just something to do. Whitney's riding the elevator up with Jonah, telling him how hungover he is, which Whitney warned him not to be. And as they disembark, Whitney forebodingly tells him, "Remember, I wanted to spare you this indignity." Scary. The board is all convened, and the lawyers read the many, many reasons he's being fired. Whitney looks really sad as he's reading it all, but he lets it happen. So now their friendship is definitely done. Jonah screams at Whitney to look at him, and it takes forever, but Whitney finally looks at him and says he hasn't seen Jonah in some time, right before Jonah leaves and he calls a vote to make himself CEO. This seems like a bad idea if they're up to a lot of shady shit, because Jonah's going to know about it and Jonah's going to want to burn it all down. In a legal business, it would make sense, but if they have been messing around behind the scenes, I don't know. I wouldn't do this.
It does seem a little bit like Jonah might have been in the dark on the worst of it, because
Okay.
he didn't even know the guy that Whitney's been meeting. I can't remember the name, but I think it was during the dinner when he was like, you haven't even introduced me to some
Someone.
guy's name that
Okay.
he's been.
Is that the Africa person?
I think that was his contact in Africa. Yeah, because I think what I got from that was that Jonah wanted to be taken on those trips so he could be a part of that
Mhm.
part of the business.
On the ground, right?
Yeah. And Whitney's been secretive about it. So maybe he's kept it to where Jonah doesn't know.
Right.
But
That makes sense.
I did this scene too, though, like where he said the line that you said, Kate, about I wanted to spare you from this or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Dignity, yeah.
It's like, okay, why do I kind of want to believe that? You know?
Yeah.
I know.
Same. I totally agree. I do think he wanted to do that, spare him that indignity, but
Well, and then you can flash back to all those other times that he was warning him about some of these behaviors that get brought up in this meeting. So it is almost like he was trying to prevent this somehow, but at the same time, all of the lists that they're giving, I don't get that this is the real reason why he's being
No.
terminated.
Right.
I mean, it's all because he's standing in the way of what Whitney really wants to do and where he wants to take Tender.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I think all those warnings were not necessarily meant to actually warn him off. They were just like building support for, hey, I told you all these things. So
Exactly.
It was like, what do you call that? Accountability. What's the word for that? Like deniability or
Plausible deniability, or
but yeah, I know what you mean.
it's like where he wants to be able to say, I told him,
Right.
I warned him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Which then that would mean that his plan to get rid of Jonah goes all the way back to the very first scene we saw with them, because that's when he brought up the candle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it does make you question every other scene. Like, was he being sincere here and there? And like, just, I love it. There's so many layers to this and it's being played so well.
Yeah, same.
And it's never just one thing either. Like they
No.
obviously have a relationship that goes back
Goes
very
way
far.
back.
So there's probably some real connection there, like
Right.
buried underneath all the manipulation.
Something else I thought was interesting was that Whitney nominates himself as interim CEO while he conducts a search for a viable candidate. And I'm like, why wouldn't he just immediately be the CEO to take over from Jonah?
I mean, he's probably going to be.
Obviously that's where it's going, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to get Henry involved in that though, right? Like he said he's looking for somebody.
Yeah.
So I feel
Good
like
call.
he's going to scout Henry for that.
that's true.
Very good call. Yeah.
I would still think he would want to be the one in charge because he can't risk having someone else not wanting his vision to go forward.
But what is his position? President?
I don't really get it. If Jonah was CEO, I don't know what that made.
He could be CFO. I'm not sure. But he has to say interim because that's just how you do it.
You can't just appoint yourself immediately as CEO.
No.
Okay.
Right. It has to be an interim and then you get votes and things.
I think if he managed to make Henry a CEO and he remains like in the
As a puppet, maybe.
yeah,
Someone he can wield a
Yeah.
little bit easier than Jonah.
sadly, all the accountability, all the failures.
Goes on Henry.
Yeah.
Right. That's smart.
That's
Yep.
perfect. Yeah.
I bet that's what happens. Yeah, and then we see the episode ends with a shot of a depressed-looking Henry doing some drugs and playing some dark foreboding tune on, you called it a museum piano. Aubrey, I like that. It says do not touch.
Yeah.
Or do not play.
It had the ropes around it.
Yeah.
What's interesting about what he's playing is I think it's a harpsichord, and that's the nickname Eric has used for Harper ever since season 1.
Oh, cute.
Or creepy. We're not sure.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a wrap on our discussion of season 4, episode 1. Come back next week for our discussion on episode 2. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.